Johan Jansen van Vieren.
I prefer Ewan.
Ewan, welcome.
Thanks, man.
To the studio / the man cave, bikes on the wall.
Bikes over there. I like the giraffe.
Yeah, I don't think you can see him, but his name's Jerry.
There he is.
It's not a very original name.
No.
I had a different name for him, but it was something to do with what the antlers are called. They're not called antlers. They're like, I don't know. I forget the name of it. But
He's cool. I like him.
Yeah, it's been a while since the last podcast. I thought the first one after about 3 months because of where we've been.
Yeah.
We did a trip through South Africa on bicycles.
Yes, and I think we had enough time to sort of get back to reality now, and back to life, I suppose.
Start earning money again.
Yeah, sink into life.
Yeah, because that was completely. We'll get into it, but before we do, give me a short introduction of yourself. I know you. I've known you for the last 15 years.
Yeah. I mean, my name's Johan, as you know.
Mm-hmm.
You sometimes call me Ranger.
Yes.
That's why I'm known as Ranger by Foot on Instagram.
Yeah.
Which is also a sort of company I own and work through by Foot, so the two together.
As a outdoor guide.
As a mountain guide, mostly, yeah. I do a bit of climbing as well, sport climbing, but predominantly hiking and mountaineering. So 90% probably Table Mountain, and then I've done some tours internationally with school groups and things like that, and then the Cedarburg and Hex River Mountains. But I pretty much any mountain. Yeah.
If it's a mountain, you'll guide it.
Exactly. And I've been doing that for the last 10 years, at least. Well, specializing in mountain guiding for probably 7 years.
Yeah.
Prior to that, a bit of canopy tours.
Abseiling,
kloofing, that kind of thing. But it's good to specialize.
Yeah, and I think that's the biggest difference in our friendship. That's always been the case as well. You've been a mountain guide. When we've gone to the mountains, you've always been the sort of go-to figure in what we're going to do, safety-wise, activity-wise. We go climbing a lot together, and you're always leading the climbs. I'm not in the same bracket as you when it comes to mountaineering, because it's your profession and you're bloody good at it. Where I think the cycling now, that was a shift in our relationship and our, not that I'm a better cyclist than you, but I've just been cycling longer.
Well, it's an understatement to say that you're maybe not a better cyclist, because you are. You are a much better cyclist than
I just think I've been doing it longer because, I mean, we can actually start getting into the trip and how it started, but essentially we were having dinner at your wife Steph's birthday.
Yes, correct. At Ferdinando's.
Great
pizza place, by the way.
In Obs, right?
In Obs, correct.
It was myself, you, Nikki Albie, and Stevoros and Hanley.
Correct, yeah. And we were sort of sitting together on the one side of the table, just discussing what to do in lockdown. Because that was actually one of our first outings.
I think it was probably the first time, and this was August.
In August, yeah.
I've forgotten Steph's birthday. 22nd August?
22nd of August, yeah.
So 22nd of August, sitting down, discussing kind of, we need to do something as either a couple group or as just myself and you. Yeah. And we've been wanting to do kind of a long adventure for some time.
Yes.
I just haven't had the opportunity, and lockdown was the perfect time for it. We both lost our jobs. You kind of didn't lose your job, but the industry is just on shutdown, so there's no international hikers coming in. You've done a couple of guided tours with...
I've done 2 since this happened. So one in March. A lady that had special mission to come visit her sick mom.
Yes, from the UK, right?
Correct, yeah. So one, and then I had 4 people just the other day, actually.
From Joburg?
On India for Insta, yeah. So mostly Gauteng region.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, Cape Townians sort of do their own thing, I think, which is fair. It's their mountain. They know it.
I think we can say it's our mountain. I mean, we've been here long enough. I know you grew up in Mpumalanga, I grew up in Limpopo, but we've been in Cape Town 10 years now?
Going on 11, yeah.
Well, going on 11?
Yeah.
Oh, so I would be 10 because you guys were a year before me. So yeah, I mean, it's a special place to live, and I think that the majority of locals do their own missions, because they know the mountain, they know.
I mean, they have a buddy somewhere that's done it before, kind of thing.
Exactly.
It's not to say they don't, excuse me, sometimes get into trouble.
Yeah.
But for the most part, they know what they're doing.
Nice. So that was the kind of shift in mindset that I had. Organizing this trip, we sat together and we said, what are we going to do? Let's and you actually said, I want to run through South Africa. You'd been planning it for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a planner and not so much a doer, I think. So I've got I can write a book of all the plans all the
missions
made,
that you want to do.
But I've done a handful. So yeah, I just started planning this whole route, everything from starting to look at accommodation to the routes that I'm going to be running, tracking it on Google Maps, and then so it's there. So I put it aside. I normally plan something and then forget about it.
Right.
Like I do everything and then just forget about it. And and then you mentioned, well, it will be quicker to cycle, and why not cycle?
And I'm nowhere fit enough to actually run the route. I mean, we decided, okay, cool, well, cycling sounds good, but you didn't commit that night.
No, I didn't. Well, I'm not a cyclist. And also just the fact that, our wives would be the ones earning the money, and we just go having fun. But there was no work. And we both tried, I suppose. Yeah, I
mean, I'd spent the better part of, the travel company that we own, Map to Africa, is it's really starting to sort of come together nicely, and we've got some amazing packages together. But still, international tourists haven't returned, and that's our biggest market.
Correct.
So we had the time available, and we actually, I wanted to do it for a charity that we're involved with,
yes.
the Muizenburg Surf Academy.
I think once you brought that on board, it sort of lured me a little bit further, but I still didn't have a bike.
Yes.
I didn't have any money to buy or stay at any accommodation, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, so the next day I kind of jumped on my phone, and I apologize for anyone who's listening who got one of those messages, but I pretty much sent about 150 voice notes on WhatsApp, and then I got 2 or 3 responses, and then I tried videos to all my sort of friends that I thought might have bikes. And I just sort of asked, listen, does anyone have a bicycle for us? Johan and I want to cycle through South Africa and raise money for a charity. And the next day, Willem Mielman, he contacted me and said, my wife's got a bike. Are you keen to use it? So we kind of agreed, and I went to go and pick it up.
Eventually, I mean, I grew quite fond of the bike.
You named it
Sixpence.
Sixpence.
It's a brilliant bike. I mean, it cost about 6 pence to put everything on the bike.
Yes. So we got the bikes back to my place, and we started. Another friend of ours from, shout out to Upland Wine Estate, Edmund, he welded a rack in 1986, or 2 racks in 1986 out of aluminium. So it's 34 years old, and they kind of makeshift racks that just go onto a road bike, and they use that for touring. And they went through San Francisco and they toured with those bikes, and
quite flimsy.
I would say pretty flimsy. I mean, your bike, I still don't know how you actually did it, because I'd cycle behind you sometimes, and I'd see your bag. Every time you stepped on either side, your bag would fly to the left and to the right. So
I think it was good core training.
That's what I was going to say. Your core must be super strong now. But
yeah, man, when I saw those things the first time I came into your house,
you thought they were coffee tables.
I thought, how retro are you, man? Like, what are these things with feathers standing over here?
Yeah, because I found the racks in the top of their attic next to a chicken cage. So the feathers and whatnot from the chickens.
They were standing right here.
Yeah.
I didn't think that was the racks, by the way. So like we were busy planning the bike and whatever. And then you came in and collected these things. And I'm like, oh shit, is that the stuff recycling? And I was like,
just a flimsy handmade aluminium rack. Yeah.
But they were cool, man. They worked.
It did the job. And then we went to go and buy some makeshift panniers, the bags. I got a couple of just waterproof or semi-waterproof Camp Master dry bags.
Yeah.
Which lasted about 3 days on the route. But I had duct tape with me, so I just duct taped them every day. A lot of duct tape.
Duct tape and what do you call it?
Cable ties.
Cable ties, yeah.
Yeah, we use duct tape on everything, including your body.
Yeah, that was not advised, but
we'll get into that as well. All right, so we got the bikes ready. We went on a test ride just around the block. Now, from the time that we'd thought, okay, let's do this, to the time we left was 10 days.
Yeah.
And from the time that you actually agreed to do it was about 3 days.
Correct.
Yeah, because we still didn't have a lot of money to do this trip. So Mariki, my colleague, started phoning guest houses, telling them the sort of cause that we wanted to do this trip for and whether or not they'd be willing to sponsor a night's accommodation. And we got, I think, 12 guest houses on board.
Yeah.
And yeah, the next morning we got together at the waterfront.
I mean, yeah, just thanks to Mariki again. I mean,
yeah,
what a machine. I haven't actually met her yet, but I'd love to meet her.
Yes.
Geez.
Yeah, she just works tirelessly to kind of keep everything just runs smoothly with Mariki and her planning. Her planning is incredible, and she never got angry with us.
No.
We would phone and say, okay, I know you've got accommodation booked for the next 5 days, but please change that because we've opted not to do this route. We're going to go on another route just because bad road conditions. And she'd be like, okay, cool. And then an hour later, we'd still be sitting preparing, and she'd be like, okay, I've got five guest houses on board. So just, I mean, incredible. But she spent years and years and years in the industry just planning these kinds of things. And yeah, we'll talk a little bit afterwards, but we've got 4 or 5 cycle packages in the Western Cape.
Oh, cool.
Put together now, between 5 and 7 days that we're going to start wrecking in Feb.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, so yeah, if your butt's healed,
it's healed. Yeah,
cool.
So I can do it. But yeah, I think what's it, 4 to 5 days? You said. Yeah, so that's good enough.
Yeah, no long kind of 25-day trips again for a while. This was a tricky one. So we got to the waterfront. Kelly, who we met climbing on what route did we do with her? Do you remember?
Did Barrier Frontal.
Never again.
It's a great route.
It's brilliant, but we had like the most issues I've ever had climbing with you. We had that day.
Like, I mean, the rope got stuck
multiple times.
Weird place where I actually had to like put up anchor, and with the rope I had left, abseil down to untie the rope, and then sort of climb back unbelayed.
Yes.
Back to the anchors. It was very weird.
Which is fine for you, because you're not terrified every 5 seconds on a rock.
Yeah.
But then you shout down to me, Peter, I think, now Kelly's next to me, she's never climbed before. I thought she was going to freak out and just jump off the mountain. Never climbed before, stayed calm, shouted down, you might have to free climb across the ledge, unhook the rope, let me pull it up, and then climb back once the rope's down. That's what you wanted me to do. I just kept quiet. I didn't respond to you. And then about 5 minutes later, I just sort of shouted up, probably not, Johan. And then,
but what I noticed, she actually did something wrong. I can't remember exactly what she did, but she climbed second, obviously, and then you climbed last. You to take out the gear, and she would somehow get herself under the rope.
Yes.
And that's the confusion the whole time.
Yeah.
So she'd had to like get to a point, and then you have to climb up and untie her lower piece.
Yes.
So she can actually get free and climb.
Correct. So she climbed past her pieces without unclipping, and then sort of climb underneath them.
Yeah.
And the rope would twist, and then you'd unclip, but the rope would already be twisted.
But I mean, it was her first time climbing, so.
And machined it.
We should have briefed it on that, yeah.
But she rode with us from the waterfront.
Yes.
And on our first day we stopped in Durbanville, and that's she had a job interview at.
Yeah, we met up with her friends.
Yes.
Had a nice little coffee
and lunch.
By that point, the weather wasn't as bad as we expected it to be.
No, it was actually fairly pleasant. It was a bit drizzly and whatnot.
I have to be honest, the moment we pedaled out of waterfront though, like literally out of the terminal, I injured my left knee.
Is that where you injured it?
That's why I injured my left knee. And then that whole day with that strong northwesterly, I was paddling on my right leg.
I see.
And that's where I damaged my right leg.
What happened? Was it?
I don't know, just wasn't ready for the weight, I suppose.
Yeah.
It was because it was quite, like crossing roads and things like that. And I think I put weight on it and I hurt it. But yeah, anyway.
So injury on the first day?
On the first 5 minutes, yeah.
Nice. And then we actually rode pretty quickly. I mean, we probably averaged about 24, 25 k's an hour to get to Durbanville, but it was a fairly easy route. We went through Pinelands, over the trailway or railway station, and then we got to Durbanville, had some coffee, and then we missioned out to Wellington.
Then we had our first wrong turn.
Yes, yeah. We actually went to Fasanta Kale, and do you remember that headwind we hit?
Yes.
I thought that was going to be the end of us. Luckily, I realized we'd taken the wrong turn, so we turned around and we...
But it did get worse.
It did get worse.
Yeah, I mean, it started bucketing down with rain, and
the temperature...
Obviously, the bags were heavy, and I haven't cycled in forever. So I was clinging on for dear life.
10 years you hadn't cycled?
Pretty much, yeah.
Since varsity, when we did kind of mountain biking, perhaps?
Yes, yeah. I think... Yeah, that's probably the last time I cycled. And yes, we eventually stopped into this
bistro
little restaurant.
Type
very
thing.
Cool people.
I mean. Amazing. We actually stopped there, and the guy, I think, felt sorry for us and bought us some coffees. And that was the start of kind of valuing stopping and just taking a bit of a break, because my expectations of how it was going to be versus how it was were very, very different. I thought we were just going to cruise and then get to the end of the day with a lot of time to spare, take in the sights, but that wasn't the case.
See, I had nothing to expect, So for me, everything that happened up to day 5, I thought, oh, this is cycling. But clearly it wasn't.
No. So we got to Jacaranda Guest House and Wine Farm at about 6 o'clock that evening after torrential downpour, sopping wet, frozen to the bone.
My right knee was aching at that point in time.
You were in quite a bit of pain. Yeah, I was quite worried that first day, but I didn't. I thought you were when you said my knee's sore. You took notes every day, right? So what were your notes at the end of day 1?
No, I was just thinking. We did 87 k's that first day.
Yes.
Yeah,
which was not a bad day. I mean, distance-wise, I thought we would be able to average 100 kilometers a day, and but we'd planned to sleep at Jacaranda Wine Farm, but then the conditions changed quite substantially for us over the following 5 days.
But first of all, how great were those people?
Amazing.
Yeah, super nice people.
I think we said it at the actual accommodation, but probably the nicest sort of night we had on the trip.
By far. I mean, wine, there was brandy at one stage, and a proper brandy.
Yeah. From Upland Organic Wine Estate. Beautiful wines. They make their own wines there that are spectacular.
But they have cycled before, those people. So they knew, and when I told them about my knee injuries, they gave me Voltaren and painkillers and all sorts of stuff, which helped a lot.
Which we didn't take with. But you had a couple of painkillers as well.
Yeah, I did take it. I actually I used my last one this morning.
Oh, nice. Yeah. From the trip.
From the trip, yeah.
Okay. But I mean, it kind of ruined the rest of the trip for us, because that's what we were expecting from it, which was...
It wasn't the same after that.
No. But absolutely incredible. If anyone has the time, check out Jacaranda Jacaranda Guest Farm and Wine Estate in Wellington. Amazing spot. And then we left the next morning. Our goal was to get to Jurgensfontein. No. Sorry,
No, we just wanted to cross Bainskloof.
into
Winterberg Inn.
Winterberg Inn, that's it. Winterberg Inn.
Close to Ceres, yeah. That day we only did 47 kilometers.
Yes.
But it was a killer for me.
Yeah, you struggled quite a bit on the climb.
Yeah, I actually stopped to buy some tape.
Yes.
Which didn't stick at all, obviously. And then we had a very worthy lunch just after Bainskloof. But how cool was Bainskloof down? Even with my knee, it was amazing. Sort of made it down. Nice lunch, and then pretty short day, but it was good. I needed it because I was pretty broken after that.
Yeah, we had lunch in the actual riverbed. Yeah,
I thought the climb up Baines Kloof was going to be tougher. Like, we walked a lot, but the only reason why we walked is because my knee was in agony.
Yes. Did we walk?
Yeah. Well, I walked. Well, we stopped.
Yes, we stopped. We didn't walk. You cycled the whole route.
Yeah.
I tried to push you, and then we nearly fell off the side of it. Our handlebars got caught together, and we hadn't quite worked out
exactly. But that's also the day I realized I was packing my bags, and because I had these ropes I didn't take strap with. And you make a trucker's hitch and you want to pull it tight, and I'm like pulling with my left hand and holding with my right hand, but the rope just keeps slipping through, and I like can't figure out what the hell is going on.
I remember that.
And that's the first time like all the feeling in my left hand was like gone.
Has it come back now?
It's about 95% there.
Really?
Yeah. So I still can't do it like when I'm climbing, like proper pinches.
Yeah.
Grab it and it just slips off.
Really?
But I can at least open bottle caps and things.
Bizarre, because I had to cut your meat for you.
Yes,
I had to take off bottle caps.
I was holding it like this, like carving meat. And brushing teeth was weird. Washing my face. Eventually my right hand also, like, you wash your face and you can't control my index finger, so like poking yourself in the eye while I'm washing. It was so weird. But anyway, yeah, so it was basically from the second day, it was just like survival mode.
Yeah, you were in pain, and I didn't know what kind of pain until the next day.
Yeah.
Bizarre.
But you were feeling fine.
Yeah, and I was fresh. Yeah.
Then we got to Winterberg Inn.
Mm-hmm. Had a couple of beers.
Yeah, very, very nice stuff actually. Then we decided to
have a very chilled next day and do some shopping, get some food.
Well, chilled in a way. I mean, we did 47 that day, and then the next day we would do 60 kilometers.
Yeah, and we knew that we were going into the Forgotten Highway area.
Yeah.
Beautiful. And when we essentially got down into Ceres from Muizenberg Inn, had dinner. Had breakfast. And then you went to go and see the physio for your knee.
Yeah, very, very nice massage.
Brilliant. Sure. She sorted it out completely.
And it was good sort of mentally as well, because I wasn't sure if it was my knee. I thought it was my ITB.
Okay.
But I wasn't 100% sure. And she confirmed that it was my ITB. So it's not actually like serious knee injury.
Yes.
I just need to manage the pain.
Yeah.
Pretty much.
Because you weren't going to injure yourself.
Correct.
Doing more cycling, because that's what we were worried about.
Yeah.
And then we had breakfast, massage, then we stocked up with food, and then we left for Jurgensfontein.
Yeah, quite late actually.
Yeah, jeez. I think we only got out there at 1:30 or 12:30 or something like that.
Then it was a pretty brutal climb.
Yes, yeah. The climb out of Ceres, there's about 4 or 5 climbs, and normally after a climb you climb and then you get rewarded with a bit of a down, and then climb a bit and then rewarded with a bit of, but this was just climb, plateau, climb, plateau, climb,
and then we get to a signboard with a height and you think, yeah,
that's it, I've reached the top of this mountain,
and then it goes up because it's like a plateau, you don't notice it, and then it goes up again.
Yeah,
sure. Yeah, so I mean, probably one of the best downhills we've had as well after that. Is that working?
Yeah.
Okay. Because we flew down there.
Yes.
That was great.
That was amazing. I mean, it was probably about an hour downhill.
Sure. That was good.
Do you remember that? I got onto the tri-bars and just cruised, and it was fantastic. And then we hit dirt.
And it was a nice experience hitting dirt. Like, yeah. I felt good. It was pretty good dirt road as well.
Yeah, we were very excited because the dirt road wasn't too corrugated.
Nice sunset.
That's very professional. Sorry.
It's a great ringtone, man. Yeah, then, I mean, we got to, what is the farm's name? Rigtersfontein.
Jurgensfontein.
Sorry, Jurgensfontein.
Yeah.
And then it was like 5 k's into this horrible dirt road.
Yes, and my knee started paining.
Is that when your knee started paining? Yeah. I thought the next day.
No, it was that afternoon still. My knee, for some reason, it just gave up but it was the climbing. I felt it on the climbs, but I really just thought it was, I just needed to, but it was both knees as well. It was bizarre. Never experienced that pain before.
It's probably the weight that you had to carry, eh?
Yeah, and I spoke to a friend who's a physio, and she said that it's essentially the muscles in your leg are strong, but the tendons going into your knee aren't as strong.
Okay.
So now you're putting too much power through those tendons that can't actually handle it, and it's just excruciating pain.
So you're basically saying your legs are too strong?
Yes.
Okay. Jeez, but yeah, I mean, I pretty much had the same issue because we both had ITBs.
Yes.
You didn't know then it was your ITB?
No.
But you held it quite long, eh?
4 days, and then we in it's 3 days. Because in Sutherland I got that the best miracle
what's
pipe.
His name?
I forgot. Tabu or Carlos or something.
But geez, man, just reading here, like how ignorant I was in terms of cycling. My knees still hurt, but are better. My left hand is still numb, but my bum is the new thing. Saddle sores, apparently. I don't know what saddle sores was. I have to work out something to relieve the chafing. And I did.
And what was that something?
So I basically took gauze, took like rash cream, and duct taped the shit out of my bum. So just to help with the chafing at that point.
But you didn't tell me that until like 3 days later, because I would have told you what a bad idea it is to duct tape.
I was just like hiking. Like when I get a chafe around my waist,
you just cover it with something.
Cover it with something, and then it's fine.
Yeah.
But it didn't quite work the same with the bum.
No.
And also taking it off ended up, because it sort of gets slippery because of sweat, so it works its way to a point where it shouldn't.
Beautiful.
And then when you take it off, it's quite painful.
Yeah, those were the worst things. We'd get to guest houses or we'd camp, but then you would need alone time for far too long to just remove your duct tape.
Yeah, jeez. I mean, that next day when it rained,
that was torture.
In that riverbed when we camped.
Yeah.
I mean, that day was Karoo, but rain and slush.
Yes. So I'm actually going to put the video in that I took of the roads, and I did a couple of videos about how I was feeling, because you couldn't ride.
No.
You'd ride 5 meters, get off the bike, and we covered 60 kilometers on those
54
kilometers on those roads, and it was torture. So we started off that morning a little bit later because we wanted the roads to potentially dry, but we were very naive. And that's on the Forgotten Highway, right?
Yeah.
And we rode and we had lunch, and morale was low. We had peanut butter and syrup sandwiches, and I wasn't feeling it. And I just went and sat down. We cycled up to some sort of big sign, and we just sat against the sign.
Yeah, I remember that.
And didn't say much.
Signal there.
We had signal for the first time in 2 days.
We learned that our wives and family weren't too happy.
That we hadn't communicated with them, yeah. But that was probably the hardest day for me. I don't know if that was the Sutherland day, right?
No, the next day was Sutherland.
Oh, it was the next day Sutherland.
Yeah, so this day we slept in like a riverbed, remember?
Oh, it was that evening we slept in the riverbed, yes.
And that old dude came past and he looked at us like we were absolutely insane.
Insane, yeah.
But it was such a safe camp.
Yeah, it was beautiful. It was,
and we didn't even think twice to like let people know or anything like that. And people were quite panicked.
Yes.
Because we're sleeping next to a road in South Africa.
Yeah.
But it was actually super chilled.
Yeah, it was lovely. I mean, apart from it being wet and thorns everywhere and no grass. Eating bully beef and curried beans. And
yes, you love your curry, eh?
I love curry. It masks the taste of anything terrible.
Sometimes you actually want to taste like
bully beef. No, you don't want to taste any of that stuff. But that was the start of kind of the pain.
Yeah. I mean, then it was just, like I said, I forgot the word already, but you just go.
Yes.
Yeah.
And so we slept in the riverbed, and then the next morning we woke up. We wanted the roads to dry a bit, and then we powered into the Sutherland day.
That was probably the most brutal day, for sure, for both of us, I think.
Yeah, for sure.
We did 92 kilometers, so that's on the Forgotten Highway to Sutherland.
Mm-hmm.
But I wrote here, we did 20 kilometers. Wait, no, sorry. We did... Yeah, it took us 4 hours to do 20 kilometers.
Yeah, that's crazy.
That's half the day.
Yeah. And so we woke up, had lunch, and we'd only done 20 kilometers.
Yeah, and then we met up with those people who gave us a Coke.
Yeah, the motorbikers. So we carried on after lunch, and we saw 2 or 3 buckies coming past us. They stopped and said, we actually on a motorbiking weekend, but we've left the bikes at home because the roads are too bad to drive on. And we were on our bicycles, just to give you an idea of what the roads actually looked like.
And it was shocking. Hilly. I mean, at one stage I was cycling and I didn't go anywhere. I'm like, what is going on? So I had to like physically stop and with this stick
remove all the mud.
Because the chain didn't
your gears clogged up with mud. Yeah. It was a nightmare. But we sort of endured, and at around 3 o'clock, I think we reached the tar road.
Yes, after we met those guys, we climbed up pretty easily, actually.
Yeah, the roads got a bit better.
A nice downhill, and then we started cruising.
Yes.
It was actually pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, 3 o'clock, we hit the tar road.
And at that point, we still had about 40 odd kilometers to go.
I suppose so. I mean, I didn't write too much about that climb. I should have, but I was clearly tired because the handwriting is also shocking.
Yeah. Verlatenkloof Pass.
Yeah.
So coming out of the Forgotten Highway, turning left onto the road into Sutherland, and just climbing into Sutherland Pass. Luckily, it was the only day that we kind of had support.
Yeah, we didn't have help.
Hanley and
we needed it.
Yeah, we needed it. Hanley and her dad actually met us on the road, and we had about 3 lunches. Just with the energy that we were...
We had like a whole plate of chips that we just savaged.
Yes.
Then we stopped at that little place. I mean, if it wasn't for them, we would have probably slept there, I think. Because we would have been broken.
We were finished. We couldn't climb out anymore. That was around just before they closed, so it must have been around 5 o'clock.
They were already closed, but we asked the lady to open so I could go to the toilet.
Yes, and that poor lady.
But I mean,
there's a tiny little stall. Her office is right next to the toilet, or her kiosk, and you just went in and destroyed the toilet.
Well, yeah.
And which was, I thought you just wanted to go to the bathroom quickly.
Yeah.
I ended up waiting about half an hour for you.
Yeah, it was proper.
And I had a nice Coke, and then we started climbing.
And it just carried on.
Didn't stop. We climbed
bad,
from 5 o'clock, and we arrived and finally finished in the dark. Our lights weren't charged. I did charge them, but they just died.
Didn't work out. At one stage you were with my phone in front.
Yes, I used my cell phone, then that died. And then I used your phone, and I would just shine the light, cycle with one hand, and you'd ride with a flashing red light.
Yeah, so I would just literally follow your wheel.
It'd be our back
and
brakes,
hope you don't go into a
hit
pothole.
anything. So, and that was we arrived at Stadeland.
Yes, the campsite, 9 p.m.
The campsite at 9 p.m. Hanley had gone home already.
But they put up our tent.
But they put up our tent. They went to Limpopo for the evening to visit friends. And we arrived. We had dinner in the bathroom because it was the only place we could find electricity.
The ladies' bathroom.
The ladies' bathroom, because they had a little area off to the side that you could cook in. And
cold that night, eh?
Freezing. Well, Sutherland, you know. But that was probably the hardest day for me.
It was definitely like our longest day, for sure.
Yeah,
well, not the longest, but the most intense day.
Yes. Yeah, that climb was just brutal. I mean, at night, I wouldn't suggest cycling it at night for a couple of reasons, but one of the biggest reasons is when a car comes past you, obviously you don't want to be hit. No, that's reason number one. But more so is just the sheer kind of pain that you feel when that car comes past you. You can see its tail light just climbing and climbing,
especially in the dark,
and climbing in the dark, and you can actually see that's where I have to go.
I still want to go there in the day so I can see that last climb, because that looked
massive.
Like, I looked at it like this.
Yes, that's exactly it. The lights, you'd look up, you'd tilt your head and sort of look up to the sky.
But it was so dark, I couldn't quite see, so I wasn't sure if I was seeing the right thing. So I'd like to go back there in the daytime, actually.
It was brutal. And that was... It was a good test for us because we'd been cycling for 12, 13 hours. And I knew that we could actually endure that kind of thing.
Yeah.
And normally you play games in your head with yourself and you kind of lie to yourself and you say, it's only 10 Ks to go. You know there's 90 Ks, but you're just saying there's 10 Ks, 10 Ks, 10 Ks. Especially on the big days where we were doing 180 kilometers in headwinds and dirt road, because that was the only option, because we had accommodation booked and we had to get there. And we were also running out of time. But at the end of that day, I knew kind of we could endure and we'd get through the trip. And then I think we don't have to go in and break each individual day, but your highlights of from Sutherland onwards, what would you, if you could sort of take me through?
Well, I mean, so Sutherland was kind of nice because we woke up quite late. We got to the observatory, which we took a nice picture. So it was kind of like getting into the swing of things. Not so push. And then Fraserburg was a massive highlight. Just after that, we actually slept at one of your friends' farmhouses.
Yeah, which was beautiful.
Mansion in the middle of nowhere.
10-sleeper farmhouse in the middle of nowhere.
We were alone. We just slept on the kitchen because it was too big.
Yeah, we didn't want to also kind of... We didn't know which bed to sleep in because there were about 20. Yeah. So we just made put up our mattresses in the actual lounge.
Yeah, it's a nice garden. I did some pull-ups. I still had energy then, so I was like trying to do climbing.
I couldn't understand what you were doing. I knew kind of we've still got 20 days to go. Conserve your energy and eat as much as you can. Yeah. That was my goal. And then we get there and you disappeared. So I walked through the house and looking for you, and it took me like an hour to look for you in the house. Couldn't find you. So I went out to the back, to the front, and you were bloody doing push-ups and pull-ups.
Yeah, I had to. I mean, because I like climbing. But yeah, that was cool. Then we got to Fraserburg, where we did that tour.
Yes, yeah, we did a fossil tour and a town tour.
Very cool.
Very nice.
Actually, no, recent cultural training stuff. I actually used some of those videos.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
Very cool.
Because it was like an experience where you get to a town and you think, this is what are we going to do here? This is a weird town.
Yes.
And you end up meeting a guide that's really good and passionate at his job.
Yeah.
And you end up remembering that town more than any of the other towns, you know?
Yeah, just because of the experience that we had. It's also highlighted a couple of things, but the town's economy, I don't think, has grown much since like 56 or something. It's stayed fairly similar.
Exactly.
And
interesting in a way. Like, I wouldn't agree with all the
a couple of weird dynamics.
We had to go to a certain side of the bottle
to be served. Bizarre. Not something I would kind of be comfortable condoning, but you know.
Yeah. But it's their town, I suppose.
Yeah. So that was interesting, and then we other highlights. Fraserburg, Loxton was.
Well, then it was the 100k day, so that was like my first 100k on the bicycle
ever,
and it's like it worked. I mean, we got a puncher. You got a puncher.
Yes, yeah. My bike. That's the first time my back wheel started giving me problems, and it didn't stop until literally the last day in Limpopo, where it shattered.
It was just like.
I still got the back wheel. I need to throw it away because it's just distraught.
But that was great. We got to Loxton, and reading the name on the map, I didn't know anything about Loxton. I'm like, Loxton, what is this place? Another awesome town.
Yes, yeah, beautiful, clean.
Fantastic little town. Just cycling through it was amazing.
You drive in with a beautiful church in the front, with a big roundabout, and then we stayed down a dirt road somewhere.
Yeah, well, most of the streets are dirt roads.
Yes, yeah.
And by that point, I was super optimistic. I still had a phone call from my mom and dad, and this is happening.
Yes.
We're finishing this kind of thing, but it's still early days. But then the next day, which was to Carnarvon. What is going on? Sorry.
No, that's fine.
Supposed to wake up. The next day to Carnarvon, if I'm pronouncing it correctly.
Carnarvon.
Only 65 k's.
Yeah, but
we thought, road, it's not
be a
dirt
comfortable,
anymore.
yeah.
It ended up being brutal.
Yeah.
It was a tough day for me because we were cycling straight into the wind.
Mm-hmm.
You had a puncture.
Yes.
We ran out of water, ran out of snacks.
Oh, was that the day we ran out of everything?
Yeah, we ran out of a lot of things that day.
Oof, I remember that now. Didn't the lady still drive past us?
Yes, the cycling lady. Ingrid or something like
Ingrid,
that.
Skuman or something.
And she's like, headwind, and carried on.
That was our first experience with a proper headwind.
Yeah, and we had our first tiny little clash that day. Not a massive clash. I said, let's get to the top of the hill, and you're like, no, it's rest time. And then we had to rest.
Yes, I was very adamant with my rest days. I apologize.
No, it's cool.
I planned and prepared and dictated where we'd stop, and I felt really bad about that after the trip. I am difficult sometimes, and I did apologize, and I think we both kind of said some things, but at the end of the day, we remain friends, and I think we better understand each other's positions in the friendship, like in terms of respect, like of what as individuals what we need. Because for a long time, we were closer than most in terms of the dynamics we share. I mean, you guys, when we were at varsity together, your wife, me, and you slept in one bed. Not because
it doesn't sound right.
It sounds horrible, but just you guys didn't have a bed yet.
I didn't have a bed. I had a bed, but there was a hole in it.
Yes, and
I slept on it one night and it broke.
Yeah, your bed broke, and then Steph ordered a bed, but it didn't.
It wasn't there.
For some reason, it took like a month to arrive.
But we shared some intense stuff. I mean, we stayed together. You, my prim.
Yes, at varsity.
We stayed together there.
Stayed together in Pretoria.
Sometimes where you worked at the Grotvlei.
Grotvlei, yes, we stayed together.
And then down in Cape, we looked after each other. Yeah, so we did some things together, so... And
this was the first real trip that we did together where both of us had an idea of what we wanted to achieve, and we needed to kind of match those. We didn't have a long time to discuss our goals for the trip, and other than finishing.
Yeah.
But it was I often sort of think to myself, for any marriage or friendship that of importance, if you want to see if it really will stand the test of time, go and do like a bikepacking trip or a kayaking trip on a tandem kayak or bicycle. Go and do something that puts you in the worst of like physical, mental, nutritional, everything just kind of collapses at the end of 16 hours on some days on the bike. And then you really kind of figure out whether or not you actually want to be friends with this person or want to be married to them or want to be in a partnership or whatever with that person. But it definitely tested my relationship with you and
vice versa, no, for sure.
Yeah.
But I mean, we had completely different exercise methods, I suppose.
Yes.
So I prefer carrying on.
Yes, sir.
You prefer short, sharp stints.
Yes.
So it's like the opposite, really. So we had to meet somewhere in between, which sometimes didn't always work. Obviously.
And they would have worked had you not been, when I say you, I mean me and you, had we not been in that space of mind sometimes at the end of the day where you just want to finish. You don't want to worry about kind of...
Yeah, you're tired, so you don't really notice what you're saying.
Yes.
It doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
I think...
It took us a while to get over that, but exactly. I think once we understood that was only the beginning.
Yeah, I mean we barely had an argument there.
Yeah.
But then Forsberg, Konhaven to Forsberg, 85 Ks, and this is where the Ks started picking up.
Yes, yeah.
This is where we started doing proper
100,
distances.
120, 130.
Because we had tar road, obviously.
Mm-hmm.
Then we hit the N12 at this Padstal. What's it again? The Cambro Padstal. Cambro. Yeah. And that day we did 113 kilometers, and we could have done more. Sorry, we did 87 kilometers, Yes. We could have done more.
Yeah, we actually planned to sleep in, what's the town just after that?
I think Stellenbosch or something.
Stellenbosch. Yeah. We wanted to stay in Stellenbosch, but the wind was just too bad. I think we looked at YR and it said fresh.
Fresh, yeah.
And when it says fresh, it's 8 meters, 10 meters per second, which is around a 25 kilometer an hour headwind.
Yeah.
I don't know if you remember, but we sat down at a road.
So that was the next day, actually. But yes,
but
it was that kind of wind.
On that stretch, because it was the N12 going into Stellenbosch, right?
And it was a narrow shoulder.
Yes,
tiny.
The trucks got really bad. That's that day. A bakkie was driving past us with an entire.
Not quite.
Wasn't it then?
No.
I don't know why I made that connection. But yeah, it was tiny shoulder. Like and the wind was just brutal. It was straight on in your face. I spoke to a guy before we did this trip from Powerbar, Trevor from Powerbar, who sponsored all our nutrition for 3/4 of our nutrition. What we could carry, we literally took with in
because
terms of
just ate too much
energy.
That's why.
Well, I didn't eat too much. I ate the right amount, right?
Yeah,
at the end of the trip, I didn't lose a single kilogram. I weighed 80 kilograms at the end of the trip. How many kilograms did you lose?
I think 5.
6. Well, it was, 5 kilograms.
It would have been worse.
It would have been much worse if we didn't start doing something about it. Yeah. Because in Hartbeespoort Dam, your spine was sticking out of your you could see your back muscles, and then your spine was like 2 centimeters protruded. It was bad. You looked like a Hoshioko baby. It was terrible. So, but yeah, I spoke to Trevor from Powerbar, and he said, "Why are you guys doing it from Cape Town to Limpopo? It's definitely the wrong way down." And I think that's what I sort of
stuck.
That stuck the wrong way down, because if you're planning on doing a trip like this, it's definitely in terms of wind and altitude or elevation. Sorry, not altitude, but do it from Limpopo to Cape Town.
Yeah, way easier.
It's just, even in Limpopo
said now, but I think it should be easier. If you have wind behind you, it should be easier.
The wind blows against you if you cycle from Cape Town to Limpopo. It's just a fact. And I thought, it depends on what the winds are doing for that day. But it's not, because we didn't have tailwinds. Very rarely. We had 2 or 3.
We had 2 or 3, and then 2 or 3 windstill days. The rest were all northwesterly.
Yeah.
And we were traveling north.
And it was brutal. That was the hardest part of the whole trip, was just because I had a Garmin on, and you could see the power output, and your heart rate would be sitting at 167. I'd be putting like 110, 120 watts, but going 15 kilometers an hour. And then on the next day, when there's no wind, you're doing the same output, but you're doing 30, 35 kilometers an hour. It's just brutal. And we experienced that for the majority of the ride.
Exactly. Sure.
I don't know if it sounds like we didn't enjoy this trip. It was an incredible trip.
No, that's the point of we haven't had one rest day now.
Yes.
So, it was brutal, but that is part of it, I think. And that's what I kind of enjoy. I don't confuse pain and discomfort with not enjoying myself.
Sure.
I think that is 2 things that you need to put aside. Differentiate.
Because
you can still have fun, but still have pain at the same time.
Absolutely. I agree with you completely. And it's why I don't climb often, but it's why I never stop climbing. Because I think as humans, we need that, adventure aside, you need that feeling of complete, like, if something happens now, because when we climb, we're safe, right? But in my mind, I'm picturing myself dying every 10 minutes. I really am. When there's exposure, it's just my brain is not conditioned to heights.
But it's a typical sort of clip in, 100% safe.
Safe.
One step up, death. No, it's the way it works.
And I think you need that. The pain, the suffering, and look, there are people that have done these trips that are far better athletes and more adventurous than we are. And that was the biggest highlight for me, is that anyone can get on their bikes or put on their running shoes or hiking shoes and just get out and you feel better. I mean, every day, our job, I kind of started looking at it as I'm going to wake up. We woke up at 4:30 every morning, 5 every morning.
Yeah.
And our job was to get on the bike. And that first pain, when you get on the bike, your butt starts hurting immediately. And you know for the next hour and a half to 2 hours, it's going to take a while for your bum to get used to the pain again. And you just accept it because you've got 25 days of this. So
exactly, I mean,
that just becomes what you're going to do.
It's that from point A to point B, and that is your life.
Yes.
So there's nothing in between or anything more. You just need to get to the end point.
Yeah.
I love that fact about it, you know.
Yes, and the amount of time that you actually get to think on the bike. I did a lot of thinking because you're riding 12 hours on average a day.
Yeah.
And we thought before the trip we were going to be riding next to each other. It's going to be long conversations, and we had this discussion, which we did have.
We did a couple. We played some games here and there, but it didn't last long.
No, because the vast majority of the time when the conditions were bad, you've got to put your head down and power through it. The bad roads, the bad wind, the knees, the technical difficulties, but that's all part of the excitement of doing a trip like this. I want to do the dragon spine, where you actually go through Lesotho. So you start here and then make your way through Lesotho.
That's more towards Beitbridge, though.
Yes, that's more Beitbridge, Beitbridge. But not right now. No. I still want to forget this.
Yeah, still get through it. I mean, you say you had a lot of time to think. For me, like, also planning prior to it, I thought, like, I'm going to get up all these great ideas, and, like, you know, because you're not working now, I'll get up, like, find ideas how to get income and stuff like that. I had the complete opposite, because normally when I run, I get all these great ideas. When I cycled now, I cannot recall a single time that I actually pondered about anything.
Really?
Yeah, I was just like, almost in a good way, I was sort of like washed away from any thought or anything like that. So,
interesting.
Like, just sort of relax, I suppose, mentally. Like, everything sort of fell away.
Do you not think that that's a difference in our jobs as well? Because I've worked in offices, as you know, I was a sales manager for the last 6 or 7 years, so I've only worked in office environments. I've done the odd guiding here and there, but you guide full time. You're in nature full time, as your job, right?
Yeah.
That's what you do. So, do you not think that because I associate exercise with switch off to think about things. You know, if I'm frustrated or stressed at work, I'll take my lunch, I'll extend it for an hour, and I'll go and sit on the bike for 2 hours. Or I'll go jump in the pool and I'll swim, or I'll go for a run in the mountains, or something like that, just to switch off and kind of decompress. But then you start thinking about new ideas, and new. That's always just been my time for thinking.
I don't know. I think I can't really answer you why I didn't really think of anything. Maybe you have to be not in a relaxed state, but in control state to think about things, because your mind is not focused on something else. Where my mind was focused continuously, because I'm not a cyclist, and I'm cycling for the first time with heavy gear. There's always wind against me. My knee is paining, my bum is sore, I can't pick up anything with my left hand. So I'm constantly thinking about my body.
Sure.
And constantly figuring out things. Like for 26 days, I was just trying to figure out things. So maybe I didn't have time to do anything like that, but in a good way, it sort of, you know, it rested my mind with like overthinking things.
Yeah, it's definitely highlighted this trip is how I want to travel differently. I think that, you know, traveling is all good and well, and we've always kind of been, you know, drive somewhere and then go and cycle, or go drive somewhere and go climb, or go to a hiking trip and do like the Whale Trail or Baneskloof or whatever. But I want to start using cycling. It's such a great way to connect places. I mean, a weekend away on a bike, it becomes a semi-adventure, because to get from here, if you want to go to Wellington, it's actually a mission, right? But if you jump in your car to go to Wellington, it's half an hour, 45 minutes. So, and then you don't actually appreciate being in Wellington.
Correct.
But you jump on your bike, and to get to Hermanus, for example, it's actually a day to get, maybe half a day to get to Hermanus,
Exactly.
So it's a full mission to get there.
I mean, not as being a cyclist, when we did our stint now for this cultural guiding course, I was stationed in Clanwilliam, and I actually missed having a bike there, so I could go explore these areas with a bike.
Yes.
So I ended up in the end doing fastpacking missions to get the sort of same experience.
Yes.
It took a lot longer, and it was in a way tougher, because you're not just cruising down the downhills and things like that. But just to get that experience again, I mean, first of all, I had to stop at 2 farms and meet people I wouldn't have met driving past, that kind of thing, and really nice people and super inviting, give me cool drink along the way and things like that. Just that whole experience, and then meeting people at Heuningvlei Backpackers, I wouldn't have done that if I was in a car, kind of thing. So yes, I agree with you. Like, this is the way to, I think, truly experience something.
And you mentioned earlier that our friends and family were quite worried about us in that first night that we actually camped. But legitimately, I did not feel unsafe.
There was one stage where I was like nervous going into a town. Was it Alexandria or something like that? When we were on the way to Potchefstroom. That's when the bucky nearly hit us with the
yes.
blade.
I remember that, yeah. So we were cycling on an uphill, and I heard you go, "Oh!" and then I looked to the side to see what was wrong, and this corrugated piece of iron flew past my face. And the guy had been transporting his entire house on the side of, on top of his bucky, and had this corrugated iron sheet sticking out.
Obviously, cyclists aren't supposed to be on the road.
Yes,
so
that's a
why
given.
even worry about them?
Yes. No loop around or anything like that. He could have easily.
But I mean, that's the one town I was like sort of nervous cycling into. Just, it was a little bit more. So we actually went through this dodgy little section where we had to cycle over sewage. I don't know if you remember.
Yes,
that.
I remember that. Yeah.
That's where I felt, but nothing happened. And the people that we cycled past looked at us once or twice and then just carried on. We didn't feel threatened once.
No, not at all. And I think that's the beauty of South Africa, and especially in the Western Cape, it's a lot easier as well. The accessibility to other areas and it's fairly safe to do, as long as you kind of wary on the roads and you keep to the shoulders and you wear visible clothing. You can do these kinds of trips fairly easily and safely. And there's lots of guest houses along the way, and there's lots of backpackers along the way, or coffee shops and places to get food.
Exactly.
When you start getting into the Karoo, it's a different story, though.
But I mean, it's the safest.
Safe ones.
In terms of crime.
But food and accessibility to water, it becomes a bit sketchy.
So you just have to pre-plan a little bit.
Pre-plan and carry a bit more weight.
Klein Karoo area, I think if anyone is ever planning something like this, and you're a bit nervous of crime or whatever, that's a good place to start.
Yes, we've got a 7-day Klein Karoo package put together, and it's one I'm really excited about. It's the highlights of the trip that we did, and just connected beautifully. And then one that I want to go and do with you is Swellendam to Elgin.
Where's Elgin again? You climb that pass to Barrysdale?
No. So you go Swellendam, Witstrand, or Mulgas, Agulhas.
Okay.
And then when you get to Agulhas, you start coming back towards Claremont.
I've actually done that in Skibby.
Oh, have you?
Yeah.
Nice.
Sections of that. It's beautiful.
Stunning,
with all
past the Whoop Nature Reserve, and going back that way.
You have to cross a ferry at one stage.
Yes,
we didn't do the ferry, but you have to.
The Pont, or Deep Pont, or whatever it's called.
Die Dam. There's a place called Die Dam.
The restaurant?
No, there's a place called Die Dam.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. I remember that.
But Portberg and all those places, absolutely beautiful, that I want to do. We drove there a couple of times. So you got a job after the cycle trip in. First, you were based in
Caledon.
Where?
Caledon.
Caledon.
Yeah.
Caledon.
Caledon.
Oh right. Why does that sound so weird? And then in Clanwilliam after that.
Yes. Yeah. So I was stationed there. Nothing happened. And then a week later, they said, "Well, we need you in Clanwilliam. Would you rather want to go there?" And I said, "Yes, for sure, because closer to the mountains and Cedarburg."
Close to the Cedarburg, yeah.
So yeah.
And then I was stationed in Swellendam, and we lived in Cedarburg. Have you been to Bibi's Joy in Cedarburg? Did you not come with us once?
No. I've wanted to, but
it's beautiful there. But just below Barrydale, and we did that pass quite a bit, and incredible cycling area. And we stayed for 2 months, and then we did the double century, and then we came back home. And incredible area. But we went to Witsun quite a bit.
Okay.
Beautiful. We took the dogs on the beaches there, and just before this trip, the weekend before we came here, we were in De Hoop, in the De Hoop Nature Reserve, and it's also stunning.
So many whales and things like that.
Yes, yeah.
Classic whale territory.
Yes, yeah. The whale trail kind of goes through that part of De Hoop.
Yes.
Yeah, absolutely beautiful area, and we took our first proper rest day in Hartbeespoort Dam.
Yeah, Bizuro. It's my friend's place.
Yes.
I should actually know how to pronounce it.
Yeah.
Bizuro Guest House. It's Hebrew like for something, eh?
Luxury tented safari camps, and beautiful farm. It's a working cattle farm, I think.
Yes, but they've got some wildlife running around.
Yes.
The neighbour's farm sort of joint with the wildlife. Great cycling as well.
Hiking trails.
Trail
plenty.
Running. They've hosted a couple of cycling events there as well.
Oh, have they?
Yeah.
Yeah, stunning. I mean, the paths are really well maintained, and we were spoiled there. I mean, we arrived,
but it was good. We needed that. That was our first proper rest day.
Yeah.
Well, it was officially a rest day, and we could fix everything. I mean, I could fix my bum a little bit, knees. We got eat the bikes a lot.
Yeah, we ate a ton.
That's when you said when I noticed I lost so much weight.
You started getting Ensure, which is essentially for cancer patients. It's a nutritional drink for cancer patients.
Oh, yes.
Or malnourished people.
And I actually used it for like 2 months after.
Oh, did you?
Just to sort of...
Did you gain that weight back?
Get a tolerance. I weigh more than what I ever weighed.
Oh, really?
65, yeah.
Oh, so that's the stuff that you want to use?
Yeah, but I stopped now.
Yeah, you're happy with 65?
Body a break. No. I still want to get more, but...
Okay.
I don't want to just use that. I don't know if it's good for you.
Yeah, there's no problem. It's just it's the nutrition you need to kind of gain weight if you want to.
Yeah,
but that was a really well needed trip, and then the next day was brutal. 180 kilometers. I don't know what we were thinking.
And obviously my knee started paining like straight away.
Yeah.
And then we needed to fix your tire in Brits.
Britstown.
No, Brits.
Oh, is it Brits? Yeah. Okay.
Nothing against Brits, but it's not a very good town or city.
It's not very scenic. We arrived we went to the one bike shop who had all the right parts, but he said he'd just gotten an order for 5 bicycles and the guy had to build the bikes and he couldn't help us. So go and check his brother's shop out. And we cycled into the heart of Brits, and his brother had never heard of a 29-inch wheel. So that was the end of it.
We wasted about an hour there.
We wasted an hour.
But prior to this, I decided to quit the cycle, and then I decided to carry on. At this point, I decided to carry on.
Was it in Brits?
Just before Brits, in Harties.
Oh, yes, okay, that's right. So Johan and I, like we mentioned, hadn't had an income for some time. And Johan was offered a job back in Cape Town, but he had to cut his trip short. And then that kind of dropped my... It's sort of the not that it was anything against you. It was just my morale kind of... And Hanley was here in Cape Town, and my wife, and her car was broken into. They stole her cell phone and all her bank cards, and all of our stuff's linked. We're married, so I had to try and, while I was cycling, do F&B, MTN, kind of all the basics of getting all that stuff back again. And, you know, they're like, okay, just come into the branch. And then you say to them, well, I can't. I'm cycling through South Africa. Is there anything you can do? And then, so my
you were on the phone a lot.
A lot. I was probably on the phone for that day that it happened for like 3 or 4 hours. We'd stop for lunch. I'd be on the phone the whole lunch break for an hour.
And then I decided not to carry on anymore.
Yeah, my morale definitely hits an all-time low. And with me, when I'm not the best athlete, so I have to like push as hard as I can here to try and get me through these kinds of things. And when my mental state goes down, I just fall apart. And
but it's actually my brother-in-law that phoned me and said, like, why are you stopping?
Jeff?
Yeah, Jeff. And he's like, just do it, man. I mean, like, what? You can find work again. And, you know, work isn't easy at this point in time, but at the same point, I was like, you know what, I'm just going to finish it. So that actually helped me a little bit, because Steph was like, finish it, it's fine. You can find work another time. But I felt bad. And then when Jeff said, no, man, just carry on, then I was like, okay, cool. It was in Muizenberg, actually. At
the campsite.
And then in Harties, I finalized it.
You decided that was it. Yeah, and I was very appreciative, because I at that point, I had an excuse to kind of quit. And I didn't want to, but I knew that our biggest, we grew up in the north of South Africa. So, you know, having grown up there, you understand I lost friends to motor cars hitting them off bikes. We were broken into multiple, and I'm not trying to run down the northern parts of the country, but you have to be aware of that kind of thing. And I mean, I've been mugged on a bicycle. I've been mugged playing squash. You know, I just didn't want to go into Limpopo alone. So that was all playing in my mind.
You were saying these things and you don't want to make it sound rough, but the moment we climbed out of Harties over that pass, the new highway they built,
yes,
and we drove down into
Brits, yeah,
it changed.
It changed completely.
People were trying to force us off the road.
It was weird.
Visibly. It was clear. So yeah, it was
just no regard for kind of cyclists.
Exactly.
You know? And that's definitely someone wanting to do a trip like that. Get to Limpopo, get it out of the way, and then the highlights just keep coming as you...
Yeah, getting out of the way is a strong word, because it's beautiful in its own way.
It's stunning.
But yeah, in terms
road
of
conditions
safety,
and safety apart. But, you know, we Limpopo was very memorable in a sense as well. Platjan Lodge was incredible. We arrived and we went on a game drive. We could actually see Botswana, which was cool.
Exactly.
Saw some elephants coming through the river. It was really nice. It was a beautiful part of the trip. But then that next day, our last day, the temperature decided to kind of skyrocket.
And it was 41 or something like that.
41 degrees. That was brutal.
Yeah, we had lunch under a bridge.
Yes.
Which was like 2 degrees cooler.
Yeah, and you couldn't stop anywhere because there were just a million flies. So you'd stop and then your whole body would just be covered in flies.
Sure, you were irritated at the flies.
I don't like things sitting on me. I get very temperamental when that kind of thing happens. And at that point, just before we got lunch, we only had 90... How many kilometers did we have for the final day? 90.
Quickly check.
I say only just because we'd gotten used to big days, 120, 160, 180. So...
Yeah, Platland to Ponts Drift, 94 kilometers.
Yeah.
And we're just like, 94 kilometers.
We got there by just after lunch, though. So
yeah,
we cruised.
And because my father-in-law had to come pick us up,
yes,
and he didn't want to drive at night.
Yeah. So we were a bit wary of driving on those roads at night, and we wanted to kind of get there.
Because, I mean, the previous day we did Tomberg to Platjan Lodge, and it was 107 kilometers on the worst road
those roads are
in the history of mankind.
Yeah. I think maybe not doing it in reverse is a good thing, because if you start on those roads, you're not going to cover much difference. But, you know, the start of our trip, we didn't cover much distance as well. So, but I would have preferred maybe to finish in the Cape. If I do this again, I would prefer... Although it's something different, you know. The border post is... You know, Cape Town's not really... There's no border post. We started at the cruise terminal, but... it was something different, and it was cool. I enjoyed it. Definitely the most memorable adventure trip that I've ever done.
Definitely.
Yeah, I mean, other highlights for you that you kind of want to mention?
Sure. Yeah, we talked briefly about the 180k day. Cycling at night. I don't know, like it all becomes a blur, but it's like this feeling of like, you know, if I can push through that, I can push through anything kind of thing, you know. That is what I sort of gotten out of it. And like you said, you it becomes your job. You just reach there, you go to bed at 9-10 o'clock at night, completely broken, wake up at like 5 maybe, and you're completely broken still, but it's a new day and you just carry on.
Yeah.
You take a lunch break and you forget everything prior to lunch break, and it's a new day and you're carrying on.
How noticeable though does it become all about food?
Yeah. It's food.
Yes.
Food and water, obviously.
Yeah.
But it's like
nutrition. You have to get that in. I mean, it's just that was my motivation. All things aside, that became the 4,500 calories a day.
But it's like survival mode, because it's shelter. We need to get to this point.
Yeah.
Then you start thinking food, water, and the rest is all sort of fallen away.
Yeah.
You don't even think about safety really until it happens to you.
Yeah, and you know, like I mentioned before, it was I had a couple of highlights, but one of the biggest was just being able to spend 25 days with you. You know, it's not often that you get to, especially being married. I love my wife, obviously, and I love my married life. But I'd love to do something like that with her, but I don't think we'll get the opportunity to spend 25 days together just with one of your closest mates, experiencing what South Africa has to offer. It was special, and I value it. And probably my favorite part of it was actually capturing your first high five on a bicycle. That was beautiful.
It was shocking because I really thought I was going to fall off the bike.
I couldn't believe it, but you couldn't ride with one hand off the bicycle.
Because, first of all, my left hand was ruined.
Yes.
And I couldn't control because of the weight.
Yeah.
And you had to like high five. So I had this expectation of high fiving, my hand getting stuck and just falling down on the tar road.
Yeah, it was beautiful. I actually got it on film. I can't release it because...
no, you can just,
I'll have to bleep out a couple of the words, but... It was
just after a climb as well, so you couldn't get like...
This is the top of Bainsclove.
No,
wasn't it?
The one of the series.
Oh, it was one of the series.
I forgot the name of it.
Taron Pass. Yeah. So
one of my favorite things is actually seeing you tired. Like, I have this video of you where I'm talking about the scenery and things like that, and I sort of pan the video and then you sort of just collapse on the side of the road.
Why is that your favorite thing? Seeing me tired?
I don't know. It's like, I don't know.
Well, I was tired every day, so I mean, you must have enjoyed quite a bit of it.
It was just a nice sight, like almost like, I'm not the only one kind of thing.
Yeah, I mean, we were both in noticeable pain, and
I like that push though, like you're tired but you just carry on.
Yeah, you have to. Yeah.
That's nice.
And I think that it was definitely one of the highlights of my kind of adult life, just in terms of being able to do something adventurous, and it changed the way that I think about sport. Doing the Argus or going on a run or competing in like the double century or whatever, it's not that hard, really, because you know that you can just carry on. It allowed me to shift my kind of thought process about what was possible. And again, I'm not saying this just to be like, we're hardcore adventurous. I don't think that this was hardcore adventuring at all.
Exactly.
But that anyone can kind of decide with, I mean, really affordable mountain bikes with not a lot of preparation, that you can go on these adventures for fairly affordable kind of opportunities, and
but also just to know that with your own steam, you've managed to cycle from Cape Town straight through the country to the most northern part of the country.
It was cool. I enjoyed it, and definitely I'd love to run it with you someday.
One day, yeah, for sure.
Just get a couple of baby prams.
Yeah, I'm second guessing that thought. Just
really
carrying super lightweight stuff on a backpack. Yeah,
just in a black Trans Americana.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
So we'll watch that now, and then you can get motivation. But yeah, you were mentioning that now you can do any race. Like I've also realized, not just with this one, like I've done some multi-day stuff as well, but specifically now with this one as well, more in depth. Like a one-day race, it's a one-day race.
Yeah.
So just finish it.
Yeah.
Because the next day you don't have to carry on.
No.
Where we had to carry on and on and on and on.
And you are going to your limit every day.
Yes. So there's no reason for you not to finish this race kind of thing. Unless you're obviously super injured and passed out and stuff. But even if you pass out, just eat something.
Get some food in.
And then carry on kind of type of thing. Because you will get to the finish line and then you can stop.
Yeah, exactly.
And someone will look after you.
Yes. Where
we had to look after ourselves.
Well, I hope I looked after you. You definitely looked after me.
Definitely, man.
And I appreciate you taking the time to chat. And it was an awesome trip, and I value you as a friend.
Yeah, thanks, man.
I hope we get to do some adventures again in the future.
Yeah, we've got some plans ahead. I'm 100% sure we're going to get some cool stuff.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, if we can get through this as friends, as you mentioned, then we'll definitely get through loads of other stuff.
Next mission, Himalayas, Annapurna. I'd love to do that with you and Steph.
Handy and I.
And just staying in the tea houses. I mean, that sounds incredible. And
it's going to be softer in a way, but harder in another way.
Yeah.
I think you'll love it.
Awesome.
It's going to be great.
Cool. Thanks, dude.
Yeah, thanks.
Much easier high five. But,
and it's my left hand.
Yeah. But I appreciate you, and I appreciate our friendship. And I'm really, really happy that we got to experience this together.
Great stuff. Thanks, man.
Cheers, buddy.
Cheers.